Good morning, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia is a very inspiring place. A lot of different architecture styles here. Definitely old streets. It's a whole different vibe out here. So I could totally see how some of the buildings here could inspire artists and people. And one building around here inspired one of the most beloved attractions of all time at the Disney parks. And today we're going to be finding the house that was the inspiration for Disneyland, Haunted Mansion. Now, let's take a closer look. And here it is, right here, the Hamilton Turner house, the inspiration for the Haunted Mansion. At first I was like, is it? Like, are we looking at the same Haunted Mansion? But then I did some research, found a little bit of history. Let's get into it. So Samuel Hamilton built this house. Now he hired a guard to, protect the house. And he was up on top of this roof nightly, just watching over the grounds, making sure no one was trying to get in. And well, something happened to that guard, which was one of the first of the many marvels and mysteries of this house. He was shot in the head, murdered, killed right there on the spot, doing his job. Sam Hamilton said no one else is going to do this job. He watched over the grounds until he passed away. Then later, a man by the name Dr. Turner. See, Sam Hamilton, Dr. Turner, Hamilton Turner, and you get it. All right, let's move on. Now, Dr. Turner had extravagant parties. You know the ballroom scene in the Haunted Mansion? Imagine those cranked to 11. And there were a bunch of kids, including his daughter, running around the mansion during the parties. Unsupervised kids, a bunch of people in the 1800s drinking really good stuff. They're not watching their kids, okay? So some playful kids running around the house. They would go down to the basement where Dr. Turner also did his practice, embalming, working on bodies and things like that. But also, one evening, they would take the pool balls and bounce them down the staircase here, pretty large staircase inside this house. And they were rolling down the pool balls down the stairs to each other. Just a easy, playful game. You know how kids are. You give them a stick and they'll play with it. Well, his daughter got too close to the stairs and she fell down and died. So 2 different accidents happened inside this house, and they say to this day, inside these walls, strange paranormal and ghost sightings are seen quite often. So what do you think? Is this the real inspiration for Disneyland, Haunted Mansion? I believe so. I believe Harper and Walt Disney took great inspiration from this building here, among other things. And it's pretty cool that getting to visit a good chunk of Disney history here in Georgia. No matter where I go, it seems like Disney kind of always follows. Couldn't you just see a young Walt Disney sitting like right over here on this bench, probably smoking a little stogie and looking at this marvelous mansion at the time? And thinking of his Museum of the Weird, or as we would later know it as a Haunted Mansion. Now eventually this would go from the mansion to an inn, which it still is today. You can stay here, rent this out. They do tours, all kinds of stuff here. But this was purchased by Nancy Hillis in 1991, and Hillis was the inspiration for the character in Mandy, Midnight in the Garden of Evil. Now right across the street here in this square, a lot of artists were seen sketching this mansion back in the day, and they say a young Walt Disney was out here sketching as well. And if you look at this mansion compared to some of the sketches by Harper Goff, there are so many similarities of the Haunted Mansion, especially Phantom Manor, which is open at Disneyland Paris. And the more you look around this building, the more you'll kind of see some of those similarities and things that are like, oh yeah, that kind of looks like the Haunted Mansion. And I can totally see the similarities looking back at those sketches. I'm going to insert some sketches right now so you guys can see what we're talking about here. These are the early sketches of Harbor Goff and everything. And then this is what it looks like now, Phantom Manor out at Disneyland Paris. And you got to think, there's been so many different versions of the Haunted Mansion when they were working on it. Museum of the Weird, they were gonna have it like a walkthrough attraction. There were so many different like reincarnations of this idea. And even though Disneyland's first opened in the 60s, and then Walt Disney World's didn't open until the 70s, and then the other Disney parks had theirs later on, it's kind of wild that the last built Haunted Mansion was the one that was most like its original concept idea here in Savannah, Georgia, right? It's kind of crazy. Just thinking about, like, you know, the look of the New Orleans type style at Disneyland is what they originally started with, but it was inspired by the one that they put out at Disneyland Paris. Well, this was a fun and interesting trip over here. I can totally say that this is the case and that this house is definitely the inspiration for the Haunted Mansion. Next time you're here in Savannah, Georgia, come on out. Check out the Hamilton Turner Inn. They do tours. You can walk around the house for free, like I did, and take in all its glory. But I think we came, we saw, we took care of business here today. And our adventure for today is done, which means it's time to say goodbye, and I will see you guys on the next adventure. Until then, stay weird. Goodbye.